49er faithful, fans of the Niner Station, welcome back. It's Thomas, Ryan, and Mark. We are here to talk a little bit about a Seahawks preview game that's coming up. Want to mention a few things this week that are pretty big on the Niners' agenda. We did re-sign a corner, Diamador Lenore, 5-year extension, $92 million, $18.4 million per year. We also got to see a rookie class performance that really held it down last week. And of course, again, we're going to touch on the Niners against the Seahawks. Always a anxiety-producing matchup, but not as much as it used to be. And this time we're at home. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, fellas. Excited to talk some 49er football with y'all again today. And pretty unexpected news out of the blue right before we jump on to record the podcast is the hyena getting paid, getting his bag. And that's really exciting news for us moving forward. And I'm looking forward to getting more into it with you guys.
Yeah, what's up, guys? And that was some great news before we're getting on the pod here. And he's quickly become one of my favorite 49ers this year, along with Juwan Jennings. Those are two guys that have really stepped up and kind of stood out this year. Juwan Jennings got paid a little bit in the offseason, but Diamador Lenore secured the bag, as they say, got paid like the way he deserves it. And it was actually a really strategic move for the Niners, signing him in midseason, knowing that he's probably going to take a little bit less money because he gets that financial stability if something happens at the end of this year. And I think they save maybe $3 to $5 million a year by signing him early. So great move for the 49ers, a nice little confidence boost going into this game. And I'm excited to see what the hyena looks like coming off getting paid on Sunday.
Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, had one of his best Niners games that I've ever seen against the Buccaneers. And you know what? Since we're going to be playing the Seahawks next week, guys, do you think Brock Purdy can do a repeat, have another 300-plus yard game? I know CMC's back, and that's going to change the Seattle Seahawks' game plan. But if I'm watching Niners game film, the first player I'm looking at now on offense is Brock Purdy. How do we stop Brock Purdy? How do you stop a guy that can escape almost any defensive line rush, most blitz coverages? He just shakes it off, scrambles outside the pocket, extends the play. And then again, we have George Kittle, the people's tight end, holding it down. So CMC, Brock Purdy, what do you guys think is going to be the biggest threat? And what do you think the Seattle Seahawks are game planning against is what I should say.
I think they're game planning against CMC coming back. He wasn't in the last game, but I'm pretty sure there haven't been many close football games when we play the Seahawks with CMC in the lineup. And he poses such a threat to that linebacking core that is already weak in coverage, and they're not the strongest in that area. And you could feel the gravity of CMC on the ground, on the field this week against the Bucs in the passing game. It just opened up guys across the middle and just throws off the whole timing for the defense because they're so keyed in on what he's doing. So I think that they're game planning, obviously, for Brock Purdy because he's a threat. But I don't think it was a coincidence that CMC's first game back also was a game that Brock Purdy threw for 350 yards because of that gravity. We talked about Steph Curry and his gravity on a basketball court. CMC has that very same kind of feel when he plays football. All eyes are on him, and it just allows other guys to open up. So if I'm them, I'm game planning for CMC. That's going to help me with Purdy, and then trying to figure out how to stop Juwan Jennings because that guy is an absolute stud. So those are my guys, obviously kind of obvious guys, but I think it revolves around stopping CMC, and then when you do that, trying to figure out how to take away Brock Purdy's number one option in Juwan Jennings.
Guys, another out of the blue piece of news that we've got, this time on the Seattle side of the ball. Mark, you mentioned how much CMC puts stress on the opposing side's linebackers. The Seattle Seahawks, they released their starting middle linebacker, Tyrell Doson, this week, which was pretty shocking, I guess, for people who may not be as plugged into the Seattle defensive personnel. But just to hear that they released a starter midweek heading into a division rivalry game kind of perks your ears a little bit, and it makes you think Brock Purdy and CMC have a great opportunity in front of them to capitalize and feast. So that's something I'm going to look out for too.
Yeah, I mean, cutting your middle linebacker mid-season is, I don't think he was playing that bad of football to get cut, but it might be a locker room presence thing. It might be argues with the new head coach. The new head coach says, hey, I can't handle this. We're not the Legion of Boom anymore. We don't have to put up with big personalities, right, that you had with Sherman and the rest of the Legion of Boom. It has to be something off the field, maybe. We don't know, but that's huge because now whoever is stepping in, congratulations. Your first game is good luck stopping CMC in space and good luck stopping George Kittle. So I don't know what their depth chart looks like on the defensive linebacking side, but it's someone that wasn't starting the first 9 games. And that's just a safe assumption. It's someone that was your backup. It was a number 2. It wasn't a rookie in waiting. So, yeah, that's huge. I mean, I think they have a couple talented corners. But again, Mark, you brought up a good point. It opens things up when you have CMC in the passing game, because instead of the running back coming out of the backfield as an afterthought, as a check down, you actually almost have to prioritize what route CMC's running, because he's the one that's going to end up gashing you if he's not covered. But we have Jawan Jennings now that's going to require attention. We have Deebo Samuel's going to be healthy, I think, this week. So he's always a playmaker, right? And then again, all of these little things create space for the people's tight end, George Kittle, to do his thing. And I'm really curious to see if we can do that kind of same hit him over the middle, Kittle over the middle thing with Jacob Cowing, with Ricky Pearsall. People that have proven that if you give them the ball in space, they're going to gash the defense for a huge gain, first down, 20, 30 yards, or a touchdown like Pearsall just did last week. We're a tough team to defend. I mean, even without Brandon Ayuk, I think we're one of the harder teams to game plan for without CMC, right? When it was just Jordan Mason and Garendo. Now with CMC, that's a defensive coordinator's nightmare, right? I mean, I can't think of I mean, maybe game planning for the Ravens between Lamar and Henry, but they don't have much else. I think you could look at it this year as an offense. The Chiefs usually have a better offense. They've found a way to win. But game planning for the Chiefs was always like, okay, well, they have good running back. They have Isaiah Pacheco. They have Travis Kelce. They had Tyreek Hill in the past. We're now that team that's really difficult to game plan for. And so there's going to be a lot of weight and a lot of pressure put on the Seattle defensive coordinators weekend and week, because they did have a bye week. They are coming off a bye, so they technically have had more time to plan than most teams do. But does more time just make you crazy? Does more time just make you think about how, like, okay, you spend the first 3 days keen on CMC, then you watch the game, you go, they're still going to pass the ball to Kittle. They're still going to pass the ball to Jawan. How do I game plan for all of it at the same time? And the thing is, I don't think you can. You have to pick and choose your strengths on certain plays and certain downs, certain field positions. But I think we're going to make it really tough. It's going to be, if they play a good defensive game against us, I would be surprised, because I think with a quarterback like Brock Purdy, we're going to find the gap. Right, he's known as one of the quarterbacks that can read through go through all his progressions like very quickly and scramble and then find the extra open person, even if you do have a coverage sack kind of coming. Like against other quarterbacks, what would be a coverage sack against Brock isn't. So you have to stay in coverage for 6 seconds, sometimes 7 seconds. Most quarterbacks are going to be able to get to or put pressure on well before that. And Brock Purdy extending the play, CMC popping open, George Kittle popping open. I mean, like I said, defensive coordinator's nightmare.
Just some context about the game really quickly. So heading into this game, the Seahawks are at the bottom of the NFC West at 4-5. And us, the 49ers, are currently second place in the NFC West at 5-4. Cardinals currently first place, 6-4. So that's just kind of where the things are currently shaking out heading into this week.
And the Rams lost.
The Rams lost. They're 4-5 too with the Seahawks, and then the Arizona's on a bye this week. So if you win this game, you're both sitting at 6-4, which makes it an even more important game. Just because you need to keep pace with the Cardinals since you lost the first game, because they have the tiebreaker. So you can't afford to fall 2 games behind, because it's going to be very hard to catch up and pass them. So winning this game is going to be very important. One thing from the last game, I was kind of looking at the numbers. We had 228 rushing yards against Seattle last game, and that was without CMC, and that's with Jordan Mason, remember, getting hurt in that game. Garendo had to come in. He had 99 yards. He had that big long run. But I think that's going to be another key to victory, too, is just running the football, not trying to get too cute. Shanahan always scares me, because when the game plan is very simple, he tries to overthink it and show the world that, yeah, you guys thought I was going to run the ball, but no, we're going to throw the ball. So I would like to see us replicate that running game. But with that being said, if we're going to do that, we need to spread the carries. Garendo last week only got 1 carry. Mason only got 1 carry. So that's another aspect of this game I'm going to be looking at, is not only CMC, obviously his effect, but will Shanahan finally be willing to spread some carries around and allow CMC to stay healthy? I would like to see at least 5 carries for Grindo, Mason, and then let CMC get the other carries. And that, I think, can be a recipe to matching the rushing numbers that we had against them last time.
And CMC, I don't know about if you guys could tell, is he looked a little gassed. Granted, it was pretty hot in Tampa. It's an away game. It's his first game. He's someone that maintains, like, he's been in great shape, but football shape is a totally different thing. Game day is a totally different thing. Game day when you're CMC and you're playing every snap is not easy. It's not like he's out there just pass blocking. On passing downs, he's running a route. Like, he's fully running a play every single time he's on the field. And you're right, Mark. I'd love to see it be more like 5 to 8 carries for Mason, or a whole drive. Just let Mason do his thing and gash him again, because he's already proven that he can do it once. And then put in Garendo for a series, because the defense is going to be on their heels the whole time. And then bring back CMC when he's fresh and he actually has some rest, because we also need to think about CMC needs to be a playoff healthy addition to this team, not just someone that helps us win for 3 or 4 weeks, right? We need to preserve CMC as best we can. I think for me, a key to victory is going to be focusing on George Kittle and Jawan Jennings in the beginning of the game. I think if we can divert the attention off CMC and onto George Kittle and onto Jawan, we're only going to be able to gash them later in the game with Pearsall and CMC and Debo, right? I mean, we have other players that can score a touchdown any given play. I think we need to kind of divert the attention off CMC and hope that the defensive coordinator's whole plan was to stop CMC and make him think that he's doing a good job because, oh, we've limited CMC. And then boom, Mason comes in, 10-yard rush, 20-yard rush, 15-yard rush, multiple first downs, keep the defensive line on the field. I think I'd love to see a little bit more of a hurry-up offense too, because that's one thing that if we're going to be if we're going to capitalize and focus on what we're good at, which is running the football, you got to speed up the tempo. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I feel like our tempo is kind of slow sometimes. Maybe that's the game plan, but we're not known for running more, like the most plays in the NFL, right? This isn't Chip Kelly's 49ers. Kyle Shanahan's 49ers is kind of a slow pace, methodical, and he likes to get cute, like you said, right? He likes to go from run, first down, let's do a pass, but it's not even a play action pass. It'll be shotgun with everyone wide. Doesn't make any sense, right? I think we need to also be under the center more, because we've proven that we're a better team if we have Brock under center. Even though we can run shotgun, for whatever reason, I think he goes, I've already won that battle. I'm going to stop doing what works, and I'm going to do something else that I came up with that I think is going to work. And he gets cute, in the words of Mark Mylander. And it's kind of frustrating, because if it's working, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But Kyle Shanahan has this, I don't know what it is, something inside of him. Like he wants to prove that he can do it all in one game plan. But you don't have to get the win. You just have to get the win. So if something is working, we shouldn't be switching off of it. That's one thing I want to see, right? George Kittle was dicing up the Buccaneers, but then all of a sudden we moved away from that, right? I mean, that's just one thing I noticed in last week's game, is because he had a great first half and not as good of a second half, right? In the red zone, that touchdown was awesome, but then we stopped doing that route. We stopped doing the things that were clearly working because Shanahan wants to use his entire playbook. I think my goal would be for Kyle Shanahan to not use his entire game plan and just focus on the stuff that worked in the first half. And if you need to make an adjustment, make the adjustment. If you don't need to make the adjustment, stick to what works. I think that kind of covers the keys to victory, guys. I mean, again, I've brought it up. I think every 49er fan knows that Seahawks week is an anxiety week. Whether it's worse when it's in Seattle, but this time it's at home. And I think that's going to be huge for us, but we cannot afford to take any team lightly, and we can never afford to take the Seahawks lightly. And what I would really like to see is for us to continue this momentum, right? We have 2 wins in a row. We need to make it 3. This is an absolute must win. It's a divisional opponent, but it's also the Seahawks. You have to beat the Seahawks 2 times a year to make us feel better for all the times that they beat us 2 times a year and all the times that we couldn't stop Russell. It's going to take a few seasons for me to get over all of those tough years that we had. And I think this year we can add another win. We can add another game to separate us from the rest of the NFC West. And the 49ers can do something that we are hoping they do. Make it to the playoffs, make a run, make it to the Super Bowl, get that 6th Lombardi that we've been chasing for years. Every year is the quest for 6. And I'm tired of saying that. I'd love to say quest for 7, but thank you for listening this long. If you're still a fan of the Niners station, We're going to continue to produce great content. So if you want to know when it's coming out, subscribe to our video, like our video. It'll show it more in your feed. And we're going to be here every single week telling you what's going on, trying to give you a different point of view than the mainstream media, because none of us are professional podcasters, but we are here to create a culture, to create a new perspective, something to listen to on the way to work, something to listen to while you're at work. Don't tell your boss. But again, please subscribe on YouTube, like and subscribe this video and the rest of our content. And guys, I think we should close it out here. Bang, bang.
Niner gang.
Niner gang.